Most Muslims believe that Jesus was not actually crucified, yet there are other Muslims today who disagree and call it blasphemy that Allah deceived billions of people by making it to appear to them as if Jesus was crucified. Let us listen to Sheikh Imran Hosein.
What did Allah do to make it appear that he died? Let me warn you. And my language is sometimes very harsh because that's the only language some people can understand. Don't come with this nonsense, because it is not only pathetic nonsense, it is absolutely sinful to say that Allah, wa na'udhu billah min hadha, Allah calls someone else to take the appearance of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, and that innocent man, innocent because he never claimed to be the Messiah, he was crucified. Wait for judgment day with that nonsense. Pathetic nonsense. It's not there in the Quran, it's in your imagination. That's why it is. And yet it took the world of Islam by storm. What a brainwashed ummah we are today. You're going to tell Allah on Judgment Day, you caused that man to assume the appearance of someone? And he who never claimed to be the Messiah, he was crucified. That is an act of injustice. You attributing injustice to Allah? What foolishness. But where are the scholars who will correct this foolishness?
If we go by the majority opinion of Muslims that Jesus was not crucified on the cross, but Allah deceiving everybody made it to appear to them, then there is a very important question to ask. Is this a new idea from Muhammad, or was it already known many centuries before Islam? Now, where did this idea truly come from? In the late 2nd century to 3rd century, Gnostic texts started to appear explaining that Simon of Cyrene, the figure who helped Jesus carry the cross, that he was actually the real person who was crucified instead. Let me read you a quote of a Gnostic version of Jesus mocking people.
I was laughing at their ignorance when the crowd mistakenly crucified Simon of Cyrene and asserting that this deception was made possible because I, Jesus, was altering my shapes, changing from form to form.
Early church fathers like Ignatius were exposing this known heresy called Docetism in the 2nd century. Do you think that Muslims got this idea from Gnostic literature?
How much can we be sure about the crucifixion of Jesus and whether he was indeed crucified?
Right. I know in Islam the teaching is that he was not actually crucified. I think on a historical basis, Jesus was absolutely crucified. I think that there is, as a historian, there's almost no doubt about that. And in case your audience doesn't know, I don't identify as a Christian. I mean, I was raised a Christian, but I'm an atheist now. I don't have a particular stake in any of this information personally. But I think the crucifixion of Jesus is probably the best attested, one of the best attested events of his life. It's found all over the place in our early sources. It's even mentioned by non-Christian sources, and it's a kind of a complicated thing for me to argue. Although I can at length, if somebody wants me to, it's not the kind of thing that Christians would have made up about him if they wanted to make up legends. If they wanted to make up something about Jesus, it wouldn't be that he got killed by the enemy, tortured to death. What they would have made up is that he became the king and he's sitting on the throne in Jerusalem. But they couldn't make that up because everybody knew it wasn't true. And so they had to say, well, yeah, he got crucified. But then they ended up saying that because he was crucified, that was significant, that it was the plan of God. And but they're kind of explaining it. They're not. They're explaining because they got to explain it because he was crucified.
Yeah. The Islamic account is very strange. It is that I guess that people think Jesus was crucified and that somebody was crucified, but it wasn't Jesus. It was just somebody else who people thought was Jesus, and it's a very strange thing to think.
Well, it is. And it didn't start with Islam. It actually there's a Christian teacher in the 2nd century named Basilides who was an Gnostic. And he wrote a gospel. He wrote a Gnostic gospel. We don't have the gospel anymore, but we have a church father who talks about it. And in his account, what he says is that there was a fellow in the Gospels. Jesus is carrying his cross, and they impel somebody else to carry the cross for him to the place of crucifixion. And according to Basilides, what happened is this other person whose name was Simon from Cyrene, which is in North Africa, Simon Cyrene carries the cross, and when he gets there, Jesus pulls an identity switch. He's the Son of God. He can do miracles. He makes Simon of Cyrene look just like him. And then he looks just like Simon of Cyrene. And so the Romans think they're crucifying Jesus, but they're crucifying Simon. And Jesus is standing by the cross laughing. Presumably Simon didn't think it was so funny because he's trying to help out here.
The point is, does it require for Muhammad, the false prophet, to come couple centuries later to tell us what was already known in the 3rd century Gnostic texts? I mean, what kind of trick is this? Making you think that Jesus was crucified. The entire Islamic religion is made out of this idea, and over 1 billion of Muslims today believe in this. What kind of trick is their false god Allah playing?